Welcome to the Old Gold Club. I'm Mikey Burrows. Alongside me, as ever, is Chris Owellamo. And this episode, we're joined by a man who made 141 appearances over 4 years, helping to end Wolves' wilderness from the top flight. Welcome to the Old Gold Club, Paul John Butler.
John, don't use that one. Don't use the Paul John.
I love it. I love it. Every time I do this research and I find out the middle names.
Yeah, I should have took that off there. There's some bad ones I know as well. That's not bad, John. There's some horrendous ones, isn't there, out there?
You can edit your own Wikipedia if you want.
That Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's the best. It's the best source for any of this stuff. Yeah. We've got so much that we want to talk to you about. Normally, we would kind of do it from the start and kind of work through, but I want to do it slightly differently today because there is obviously a period in the middle of your time at the club which is really kind of synonymous from it. So we'll talk about you joining a little bit later on and kind of what happened at the end a little bit later on. But I want to skip to almost that last stretch of your second season when you are in second and cruising and 11 points clear.
Yeah.
And it goes wrong.
Yeah.
What happened?
Chris will tell you, he's like, we were 11 points clear, and it was 7 games to go, 6 games to go or something. Or was it 8 games to go? Anyway, we were drawing games, and West Brom were winning games, and it quickly goes. So that 10 points buffer that you got, if you draw 3 games, 3 points, they win 3 games. Now, 6 points just took off you straight away, so it's down to 4 points. And we wasn't as if we were playing bad, we were just drawing games. You couldn't get a win. Yeah. And every time we checked on West Brom's result, last minute goal, 95th minute goal, and you're going, and you can feel it. And the sense of this media around Wolverhampton was telling us as well in the papers every day. They're not saying, "No, don't worry about them. You're still 6 points clear with so many games to go. Don't worry about them." It's like, you can't get caught. You can't get caught. No matter what you do, you can't get caught. So in the end, we got caught, and it was devastating, really, to get caught, especially by the team down the road.
So can I ask then? So you're in that position, you've got that lead.
Yeah.
Do you go into games? The pressure's on the media.
Yeah.
It's the rivals that are on you. Does that change the way that you played? Now you said there that you couldn't get a win, but then do you go into a match where kind of say, like, we can't get beat? Because it's one of them, like if you're fighting a relegation battle, you just want to do the basics well. Let's not get beat, and we've got quality in the team that can get the results. So does the mindset kind of change of the players?
Yeah, we had, and I'll touch on it. We had certain players couldn't handle the situation. Certain players froze. Right. The media was ramped up. If it would have been, say, Ipswich chasing us, then it wouldn't have been. It was just them down the road chasing us, and it got up and up and up. And it's very similar where you're in that role of you've drew again. And I think we went away to a really tough team to end the season and got a good point. I think it might be Sheffield United, so I can't remember us. And a point was decent there. But they went away the next day, West Brom, and won 2-1 at Bradford on the last kick of the game. And you're going, you can see where this way is going. And you can't stop it. It's like you're 3-0 up in a game. And we've had many games here where we've been 3-0 down at Leicester. And all of a sudden it's 3-1, 3-2. And you can't stop that momentum coming, even though you go, it's easy, you've got your footballers, you can go on the pitch and you shouldn't get beat 4-3 if you're winning 3-0 at half time. It does happen, and you can't stop it on the pitch. That's like the games. We were going out to win, and Dave Jones, being very, very positive manager, always want to play with 2 wingers. Even he was looking at it, saying to us, we might go a bit 4-5-1 today defensive, and he went, no, forget it. We've got 11 points clear because we're positive.
Because through February, you won 7 games in a row, and then from the start of March, for the last 9 games, you only won twice. Yeah. It was Sheffield Wednesday away on the final game that you got the 2-2. But to kind of be on that kind of form, and I mean, even before that, like, you'd only you'd won 3 and lost 1 of the 4 before that kind of run of 7 wins in a row. So, like, from that turn of the year, you were absolutely flying, and then all of a sudden it was like you hit a brick wall.
You can see it, you can see it, and fast forward it to the summer that year when we got beat in the playoffs. It was massively important that the manager Dave went out and got Paul Ince and Denis Irwin. Massively important, because if we would have had them from March onwards, they would have got us over the line. Yeah. That's why we signed them. That was the only reason. That the team was spot on, but the next year, Dave was unbelievable how he convinced Ince and Denis to come down. And we knew as soon as they walked through the door, you're going, God, there's a couple more. Don't say too much.
Yeah.
Well, Ince does, but Denis doesn't say. Just having that on the team sheet, Denis Irwin's out with you, and you're going, we can go anywhere now.
Yeah.
And that was but off the back of that, we went into the playoffs flat.
Yeah, because you went 1-0 up in that playoff game.
Yeah, Norwich.
And then you end up losing
3-1, was it? Last kick of the game.
Yeah.
I think Muzzy got the last kick of the game on the far side, was it? He won't play Muzzy or did Muscat not
Mackay.
play? Yeah, no, but
Mackay.
Kev Muscat won't play, would he? He won't play him in that game or something. Dave won't play him when we needed him to play, or he'd had history with Norwich down the years, Muzzy, and he didn't trust him.
Probably one of the number of clubs.
So anyway, so long, we conceded last kick of the game, 3-1. 2-1 at Norwich, you fancy, you go, right, okay, yeah, we'll get out of there with 2-1. We got the away goal, and that's when away goals counted.
Yeah.
Get out of there. But the 3-1, you're coming back going, that's done as the 3-1.
Gunnar Haller played that game, by the way.
Yeah, so, remember, yeah. So they left Muzzy out.
So let's talk about your role as captain. And you said there was some certain players that froze. I don't want names, but I'm just saying, when you're saying that the momentum's going against you, what did you find that difficult as captain? Because you're seeing, you know your dressing room, you know who's pulling their weight or not. You know that the points it's depleting, that gap's getting tighter and tighter. Yeah. But you're seeing players freeze that should be stepping up to the plate and pushing you forward.
And they had done for 7-8 months. They had done for 7-8, and you see another side to them. But it's how you handle them. Is some players can take pulling to one side, or some players can take on the pitch having a go at them.
Yeah.
Other players can't. And there was an handful of them that couldn't, and it was hard, and we couldn't replace them with anything.
Yeah.
Because that was the team. Like I said, they had 37 pros still on the books, I think, that year, and 12 or 14 of them they didn't want to use.
Right. Okay.
And you still had them around you, sat in the stands, still talking about you. And so what we had of the 14, 15 players, that's what we had, that's what to run with. And you just think it's going to turn, that 1-1's going to turn to 2-1. And you just hoping, but then you also, it's like the Man City, Liverpool last year. Who's to say they're going to win 16 on the trot and someone's going to win 15 on the trot? It doesn't happen. And that's what West Brom, they went on an unbelievable run end of the season.
Because that was the game, the second leg of the playoffs.
Yeah.
The fan, there's a famous picture of the fan brought the banner that he'd made that said, "You've let us down again."
Yeah.
Which to me, I've always felt from the very first moment I saw that, I couldn't understand why someone made that before the game. Like, because there was still a chance that you could have turned it around in that second game. But is that a symptom of how kind of negative the place had become, mate?
It was kind of, it come to a point when I arrived where it was toxic in certain areas, and the fans had just come, not teams to support the team, just to have a go at individuals on a pitch.
Not all the fans.
No, 99% of them are brilliant. But you could tell there was a section, and certain players, and I'll touch on it later on, the season after, what happened with me is they just come to have a go at you. Not even cheer the team on. If you made 15 good passes or 15 good headers, they wouldn't cheer that. It's the one mistake that they were waiting for. And they jump on it, and there was a little section of that.
Isn't that just fans, though? Isn't
that
is
fans? No, you get them at all big
world?
clubs. You get them at all big clubs, and they were frustrated because they wanted to get the Premiership, and they seen it, and them down the road pipping us, and it was just the anger, and it was coming, and there was nerves. There was a hell of a lot of nerves around the place, and they hadn't been in this position before. They'd been close down in the early 90s to it, but not in the position that we were in. So, and Dave got brought to the club because of his track record of attracting players, and he had a decent budget and getting us up. And that year we didn't, and Norwich did, and Norwich were the better team in the playoffs. Not over the season. I think Norwich finished about 14 points behind us that season, didn't they? Like last position or something. It was strange. They were miles behind us, but they were better than us. And I went to the dressing room after we got beat at home here, and I always speak to Malky all the time when I see him, and he never forgets it. He was captain, and he'd come in, and I had to go in and say congratulations and all the best in the final. I thought, me being captain, it's my duty to go and say, killed me, absolutely killed me. But when I went into the dressing room, I learned a lot by being in there for 15 seconds, the atmosphere that was in there compared to when I walked back into our dressing room and everyone was just gone.
Yeah, so on that negative, obviously the summer, you say Ince, Irwin comes in.
Yeah.
Does that, you said it as a positive, it was a massive move, but also the captaincy, that's going to be questioned as well. That's a responsibility, that's a great honour for you as well. Does that rub you up a little bit?
Listen, I got told back into the season off Dave Jones said to us, listen, we're going to try and get two like unbelievable players in. He said, we need that experience to give you some help. I says, more than welcome for me, bring them in. If you can get them in, bring them in. So Dave worked his magic, managed to get him here. First day, and I used to travel in with Ince. It was me, Paul Ince, Denis Irwin, Mark Kennedy, and Michael Oakes used to travel in, and then Ince wanted to go by himself because he didn't like travelling with the four of us in the car. So, but from day one, Ince said, you're the skipper, not a problem. And I had no issues with that, not a problem whatsoever. When I wasn't playing, he was captain. When he didn't play, I was captain. So not a problem at all with that. It's when we started that season, there was still a negativity around the place from the season before. You could sense it in pre-season games.
From the fans?
From the fans. Still the fans. We were travelling away and you could still sense it.
Even after those signings? Even after these players coming in?
You could still, certain fans, not all of them, certain fans coming up to you going, you let us down last year and you've got this now and you've no excuses. You brought 2 international players in. And I said, well, that's not a given. They're here for when it gets tough.
Yeah.
That it says, and hopefully that will. And they went, right, okay. And you could sense bits of it. And we didn't start off great. And straight away, I think, we had our own first game of the season that year?
Away,
Bradford. And there was a section of fans that I could hear were giving me some stick straight away. Your captain, sort it out. You do this, you do that. I thought, all right, this is going to rumble into a bigger crowd. I can sense it. But mate, listen, have a go at me instead of the young kids. Not a problem. I can handle it all day. And then down the line, I think it was about 10 games in, 12 games in, we played at home. I think it was on a Tuesday night. I think it was 0-0. I was at Rotherham or something like that at home on it's a Tuesday night, about 12 games in. Anyway, the fans were, every time I kicked the ball out of play or mistimed the tackle, on it straight away. So come in and Dave said to me, I'm not going to take you off. I says, but you're close to, just pulled me, not in front of the lads. He says, you're close because I'm not having that kind of atmosphere. I said, it's taken away from the team. And I went, that's not a problem. I said, but don't take me off in the dressing room. Take me off on the pitch. So I can walk off the pitch and look at them instead of, because that's my principles. Don't do that to me. So I went out, second half, 5 minutes into it, the number come up. It was one of the biggest cheers that happened on the day. And I thought, right, okay. I clapped them all off. Clapped every one of them off, walked off and clapped them all. Young Mark Clyde come on the pitch, give him a big handshake, walked on, sat in the dugout and sat in there. So that was the Tuesday. The Wednesday morning, I drove all the way down. You know this, the story with Dave. I drove all the way down the day off, and I said to Dave, what's going to happen now going forward? Clyde is coming. I think they drew the game anyway. I said, I know you want to take me out. That's fine. Not an issue with that. He says, well, it's entirely what you want to do. I says, well, what do you mean? I said, you can stay and fight for your place, or down the years, people just want to get off. He says, nah, I haven't got that in me. I says, but what I will do, he says, I'll hang around, I'll train. And I spoke to 3 or 4 ex-pros who I'd played with, Steve Bold at Sunderland, Kevin Ball at Sunderland. I asked them ex-captains, what would you do? He said, get your head down and work.
Yeah.
And work twice as hard.
Yeah.
And I went, right, okay. I says, and every time there's a reserve game, Dave didn't want me to play in it. I played in it. Right. I wanted to play in it. And whether it was down at Kidderminster, I went to play in it because I wanted to keep that up. And Clyde had come in and done brilliant. I was over the moon. Every day in training, I was taking to one side, working on his head in and working on his foot. So I was helping him out in training ground. So it was great with him, and I enjoyed watching him play. Then he gets injured round about back end of November. And Dave goes to me, Dave Jones, he went, it's your opportunity now. And I went, cheers, Gaffer. Well, yeah, that's the great. He says, who are we playing? He went, Newcastle in the Cup, Alan Shearer. So I went, right, okay, no, that's a positive. Yeah, I'll go in. Because I looked at it one way, you have a sink or swim. I'll go in and actually, or we'll get something out of it. And me going in and us beating them 3-2, and they were a Premiership team, we were a Championship team, the fans went, hang on a minute, he could have easily left. He could have gone on loan somewhere, but he hasn't. He stuck it out. And from that point of coming back in to end the season, it totally changed the atmosphere. Fans were started cheering for me then.
Yeah.
And it was just totally changed. And it was something that I didn't want to do. It was something that I got told off experienced pros that I'd played with and respected. And they would just get your head down and work. The opportunity will come, but they'll need you, but get you down and work. You're captain of the club. And that's how it happened, yeah.
So what happened with the rest of the group? Because
they felt...
For that December, there was talk that Dave Jones might have been facing the sack.
The Newcastle game was big on him. The Newcastle game was big because he was under pressure. He was under massive pressure, Dave. And
I think Sir Jack had come out and kind of reminded him publicly that he'd promised promotion.
Correct.
Which is kind of the sternest kind of thing you could probably get.
Yeah. And with Sir Jack living upstairs as well in his apartment, he was not too far away from quite a lot of stuff. But no, Dave was good at protecting the players in the squad as well. He wouldn't let what's going on outside. He'd still keep positive. He'd still keep going 4-4-2, man. I've always been that way. I'm not going to change. We'll get out of this. We've got good players. You just need to get out there and put it together. And we went out there. Newcastle game was the catalyst to it. We went out there, and from the Newcastle game, I think onwards, it's the end of the season. I think we lost 2 games. That got us into the playoffs. Yeah. So again, you're going about momentum, and how did you lose that one the year before? I think the team in 6. We were like 18 points behind them at Christmas, and we caught them and got them out the playoffs, and we jumped in the playoffs. So you can see people coming, but you can't stop it. You can't stop the team's momentum coming at you. And we had momentum coming. We were going away, and we were winning games, and we're going. You just feel like you was going. You have that feeling, yourself, Chris, when you go away is, oh, we're going to get a result here today. You've just got the players in the team where the year before you're going, lads are confident. They're not confident. We haven't got that player in the team. We haven't got this player in the team. Yeah, it went that way.
You touched on Dave Jones there. How important was that he protected the squad? Because, like you say, it showed this year before there was certain characters that never had the bottle for it or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But he's under a lot of pressure, and still he was positive. The message never changed. And that's a responsibility of a manager, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the year before when we didn't go up, it still wasn't his full squad. He still didn't have everyone that he wanted. He'd had probably 80% of the players, and he brought in Mark Kennedy, then Denis, Sean Newton, people like that. He was good players. But he was still missing. And he said, basically, judge me when I get everyone in. Because you remember, there was 37 pros, and out of the 37, Dave's gone on record, he only wanted to keep 7. So you can't do that in one window. They've got to be around over 2, 3, or not the windows at the time. But no one's going to take them because the money that they were earning, Samori Kit Spires and all this, they were big players. And no one wanted to take them. So they had to stay on the wage bill. So Dave had his hands tied with certain players, and everyone was in that dressing room downstairs. So even players that he didn't want was in the dressing room. They couldn't put them across to the away dressing room because all the kids were in there. So we didn't have a place to go. So everyone was together. So you can imagine some negative atmosphere. So once he cleaned that and got it all out and we were part of it, then you could move on because you could trust everyone in that dressing room.
The player final. So you get past Reading and the momentum, and it's Alex Ray.
Alex Ray,
the Medeski. It's unbelievable. And then literally 45 minutes into the playoff final, you are walking off the pitch. You're 3-0 up.
Yeah.
You must have thought you've done it.
No, because we're playing for Wolves. Anything can happen. Anything can. We went into the game, and the build-up to it is that we knew Sheffield United had got to a semi-final of one of the cups, and I think they got to a quarter. So they played about 70 games that season. They played a hell of a lot of games. And they were not an oldish team, but Stuart McCall was in there, and, good match-up with Ince and all. Don't get me wrong, they were warriors. But we knew that we had more energy and more legs, as you say, than they did if we got at them. But 3-0, no, you can never imagine. But an interesting thing that we did do, and I've not said it too much, is Dave loved to play out from the back and get his wingers involved and all. If you have a look at all the goals, because there was a game before on Millennium, there was another playoff final, a rugby match before the day, and the pitch was horrendous. It might have been looking great from the stands, but they sprayed it with all this green paint, and it was horrendous. So when we walked on the pitch, Dave just didn't change tactics. He went, right, we'll just boycott. We'll bypass the midfield. We've got to get up to the front lads as quick as we can, and we'll play from there. And that's not Dave's principles, but if you see a lot of the goals, it's clearances from full-backs areas. Blake has flicked it on or Corn, and we just played the pitch better than what they did probably. And we had match winners in the team, but they did. They had Unloving there and people like that. Do you know what I mean? They're good strikers at the time.
Because Matt Murray on his episode talked about kind of the weirdness of the final 10 minutes or so, and you will probably find this as well, because obviously you were defending the Sheffield United end, kicking towards the Wolves fans, and he kind of talks about the fact that he just sees this incredible vista of celebrating Wolves fans and Sir Jack with a thumbs up on the big screen.
It was strange because
surreal.
Yeah, you come in 3-0 up, and you've been to Millennium before, you've been in their dressing rooms, their rugby dressing rooms, they're massive. They're absolutely huge dressing rooms. So Dave's got us all in. The starting 11 just in the corner, and the lads are just kicking a ball around in the pack. And he just basically says, right, what do you want to do? This is that 3-0. I went, what do you mean, what do I do? Well, there's 2 ways of playing it. We can go out and settle for 3-0, or we can go and get the next goal and really kill the game. So what did I do? I went and give a penalty away in the first 5 minutes. So make it a bit interesting. That's all right, isn't it? So, no, I went out, and we were just basically, you're still on the pitch, and you're still walking out going, are we 3-0 up? Because the players are walking around going, and this is Denis, Irwin and Paul Ince, by the way. We're all walking around going, is it really still 3-0? Because you're thinking that something's going to happen. And then we knew that they're going to be 5-10 minute blast at you where they're going to come for you. They did get the penalty, and I made Matt a living out of it, Anna. So Matt owes me a lot, doesn't he? But he saved a penalty, and then from then, it was comfortable. But I remember looking at the clock. I think it was 5 minutes of extra time went up, and I'm thinking myself, and this is my mindset. You got to remember, I'm a Man City fan as well. I went through the 80s and 90s watching Man City. 3-0 up, 5 minutes to go. That could be 5-3 to them. A goal every minute. And that's my mindset. I'm thinking that. And I'm going, and Sheffield United are emptying their stadium. Their end's gone. With 5 minutes probably about 3,000 left in there. And you're still going, something can happen here. And you're still thinking that. That's happened. And I'm looking around and I thought, I shouldn't be thinking that. I've got Paul Ince in front of me, Denis Irwin, Joe Lescott, Matt Murray, Lena. I've got like good players around you, but you're still thinking that until that whistle went, no.
Right, on that there, you just said you just went through the players there, you've got the momentum, you've blew them away in the final. Yeah. Why couldn't that team stay up?
That team, and I'll tell you why that team, at the end of the game, Dave was brilliant with me being captain. He'd always keep me involved with Sir Jack, and he'd tell me the signings that I'd be looking at, and he always said to us, and I think the squad knew and the town knew that if we weren't up, we needed 5-6 players. And this is the interesting part where it comes to it, what a lot of fans ask me about, and I'm being as honest as I can. Dave earmarked 5 top players that, like he brought the year before with Ince and Denis Irwin. One thing Dave was good at is convincing a player to come. He wasn't a grass coach pitch. He could get that player, a bit like I read Nap, he could get that player to come and sign for you. So he convinced these 5 players that he told me 5, and I've gone out public of it. And there's certain players around there that you look at. Robbie Fowler might have been coming in, and Trevor Sinclair might have been coming in, and David James might have been coming in, Danny Mills. These are all players that we needed to add to the squad. Yeah. So we went up. Obviously, we're later than everybody else. The market's way behind 2 weeks, but David done his groundwork. If we go up, these players are coming. If we don't, then we'll see where we are. Some players might have to leave because we can't carry this squad in the championship again. So we went up. We partied for, I think, 2 days, 3 days. Come back, had the open top bus. We all went on holiday because we had a short break. All went on holiday, and come back like we always did in July. And we were training at an RAF base that used to train out the back, which was horrible, by the way. And I always remember speaking to Dave on the first day, and I went, right, Gaffer, so... and I'd come back super fit, really fit, because my position was under pressure. Joel was the number 1 centre-half, loved him to bits. And I thought, it's my position. He wanted a centre-half. Yeah, they're going to come for my... And fine, I'll fight for it. I've done it before. Yeah. I'm not leaving, I'm going to fight. Yeah. So I made no excuse. I went away, trained like I've never trained before, come back and thought, if he's going to leave me out, he's not going to leave me out because I'm not fit enough for this. I'm going to give him a... So I'll come back. First week of pre-season, it was just the same squad that was there. So I said to the gaffer, I went, Dave, when's these players arrive? We've only got 2 weeks before the pre-season starts. A bit of an issue with the players. We can't have them now. I says, why? I says, we just can't have them. The budget's not there. It was there before the playoffs. It's not there now. So I went, what are we going to do then? He went, we'll just have to wait for loan signings and try and get players in. I says, this squad needs help. Yeah. I says, well, they're not a million miles away, but we still need help. And he went, yeah, but I'll just have to see what we can do. I'm going in the dressing room. Players are asking me, when's the new players arriving? When's the new players arriving? You're going, I think we brought the first one in with Silas for $1 million or something.
Silas was third in.
Yeah.
Oleg Luzhny, Isaac Okoronkwo,
Stefan
Silas, Jody Craddock, Omri Kamara, Stefan Everson. That was all the business that was done in August.
And the Jody Craddock one was done late off the back of me because Joel had come back injured. And David said to us, I need a centre-half. I've got a certain budget, but we've only got literally 2 weeks to work. Who have you worked with? I says, go and get Jody. Yeah. I played with Matt Sunderland.
Yeah, you know what he is.
Go and get Jody. You know what you're going to do? He says, he only played in the cup games. He used to get brought in the cup games. Baldy used to get rested and he used to play him. Lovely lad. Go and get him. I know him. If you can get him, brilliant. Anyway, they got him. So I knew a quick relationship with him. But the rest of them, Oleg Luzhny was coming in to play one game, and then Denis Irwin had played another game. Oleg Luzhny played the next game to give Denis, because Denis, he had arthritis in both toes. He'd gone. He couldn't walk. Yeah. And for Dave to convince Denis, the re-signer over here, was unbelievable because Denis was out on his feet. He was gone. And so that turned into Oleg Gluzny just being injured all the time and not wanting to play. And every Friday he was injured. And we knew that every time we went to the training ground, it was a Friday. If it was an away game, Oleg's injured. So Denis had to play again. And we had to wheel Denis out all the time. And it was a guy who's played at the top level all his career.
Yep.
I've learned so much about the guy. He was never moaned, never complained, never missed training when they were trying to pull him out of training. Unbelievable pro. And I understand now when Roy Keane talks about he puts him in his all-time great, I understand because he was, God, he was so good. But didn't say a word. He didn't complain. Didn't say, I'm so torn. And you can imagine the pain he was going through, but he had to play every week because Oleg Gluzny put him in that position.
You defend Dave Jones a lot, I know, because I've done this stuff with you before. Because Lee Naylor's been on this podcast, and he suggested that the team wasn't as well prepared.
No,
generally.
And I said that. I've said that a lot of times to you, Mikey. That we went into that season, the first game of the season. I think did we play Chelsea at home? The first game, I think we got beat 5 or something at home. Was it that season? Anyway,
I think it was Blackburn away, wasn't it? Yeah, Blackburn 5-1
away.
away.
Then we played someone at home. Yeah, so
Charlton was the first home game. You lost 4-0.
Yeah, it was heavily every game, but it was the same squad as the year before. It was a championship team going into the Premiership, and in the first 4 or 5 games, even though we'd all played I'd played Premiership football. Dennis has it. Nathan Blake had a lot of them. He's still running off a championship team, and the games that were set up pre-season. Nothing to do with Dave, but they were set up. They're not competitive enough. You were beating them 7-8-0. So you didn't have the first game in sight of Blackburn away, and they were flying at the time. Blackburn the year before they'd come off, and they've got some good players. And you go to Blackburn, and the first one goes in, and the second one goes in, and you've got 6,000 Wolves fans behind the goal, and you're looking going, they don't deserve this. They don't come to the Premiership to deserve this. Now the team that's gone up 2 years ago with Nuno, 7 or 8 of them are international players still playing international football, so you knew that would be capable of handling the Premiership. We were the way around. We had ex-internationals that had retired like Denis and Paul Ince and that who were coming down, and they needed breaks. They couldn't play every week because getting Ince to training was hard enough. Do you know what I mean? To roll him out on the pitch. He trained at Ince's pace, but on a Saturday he was unbelievable. So Monday to Friday with Ince, he'd have a big coach's coat on, but he'd join in farther side, and then come the Saturday, couldn't fault him. But you wanted to dig him out. So how can you train like that and then play like that? That was Ince. Yeah. Denis used to train every day, but we knew that we were short, and the players that Dave got the best to bring in the Oleg Gluzny's, the Stefan Eversons, I think Carl Court coming, didn't he, for a spell, a young kid at the time. We brought him in. They would have been added to a squad. They wasn't starters, if you don't understand. Oleg Gluzny didn't want to play. He didn't even know where Wolverhampton was, I don't think. But he'd signed because they'd been released by Arsenal. So it wasn't additions to the squad. It was just bodies that Dave had to bring in. But
doesn't Dave Jones his whole philosophy has to change because it's a championship squad 100%, in the Premier League, so he can't go and play that open, expansive game playing out.
And he still wanted to play with Newts on one side, Sean Newton, Mark Kennedy, Omri Kamara at times, Selassie brought in, and on Dave, I know you said before about I protect Dave or don't. No, I had a lot of interaction with Dave where I seen stuff in his office, and he heard stuff in his office that he was a very private man, and he wouldn't let the dressing room know half the stuff he was going through. Other players had issues. You're going to get that. You're not going to keep 25 players happy and saying that. No, what Nails is like. Nails is Nails, but he always played Nails. Yeah. You understand? He always played Nails. He didn't leave Nails out. Just that Nails had something against what Dave was. He always thought Dave was picking on him. And he wasn't. He was just always the one that was playing left back. He stood in front of him here the first half a lot. So you're the first one who's going to shout at a lot.
Yeah, but he knows that Nails can take it as well.
And that's 100%. Yeah, and I've spoke to Nails in the past, but Nails laughs it off.
If people want to watch Lee Nails' episode and listen to his podcast, it's available in all the usual places. So, the one very quickly thing I wanted to get out of you, though, just before we finish on our main show, is, you had a close relationship to Dave Jones, which makes it more puzzling, kind of what happened at the end of your Wolves career, the contract situation that was. Did you feel a bit let down on that?
Not let down off Dave, let down off the club, and only one man, and Jez knows this, Jez Moxey. Jez Moxey was the one that was dealing with it. There was no board in the sense. There was a board, but Jez made the decisions with Dave. So from the Christmas time onwards in the Premiership, I think there was 2 or 3 of us out of contract. I was out of contract that summer. I think Alex Ray was out of contract coming up to that summer. And all we ever said, and I got my agent to deal with it with Jez, is if we stay up, this is contract A. If we get relegated, this is contract B. That's if you still want me. And Dave made a point, well, if we go down, we need you if we went down. So it says, not a problem. But that's it, black and white, A or B. And that, I wasn't asking for extra money. I was asking, don't give me 1 year contract, give me 2. And I played in the Premiership last year, and I think you tell that the fans that I'd say to you, it was probably one of the best seasons I'd played in the Premiership under bad circumstances. And that's how the fans regenerated and got to it, because they knew we were giving everything, and we weren't as good as but we weren't as bad as some of the teams. So let down, no, in the sense of Dave. Let down, I left it, last game of the season, was it Tottenham? We got beat off Tottenham last kick of the game. It was Denis' last game, wasn't it? Before he retired. We played at home to Spurs, didn't we? I think we got beat 2-1 or whatever it was, 1 each or...
the last league game was Spurs at home.
Yeah, so that I had a conversation coming in that day to Jez and Dave saying, after today's game, we're in on Monday, because you used to go back in on Monday, get weighed, get all your stuff. Yeah, get all your stuff. Where does it leave? Not a problem, we'll be in touch. Now, I had an holiday booked on the Wednesday that week with the family to get away to America straight away. So I left it with Dave. Not a problem, let me know. I'm in America. I was there for 3 weeks. 10 days into America, I get a phone call from my agent. He goes, I hadn't heard anything back off Jez. Now, at the time, my agent looked after Matt Murray, who'd just been injured, Joe Lescott, who'd just been injured. So they were constantly in dialogue with them. So he looked after 5 or 6 players in that squad. So it's not as if he wasn't speaking to him. He was just avoiding the contract talk. So he says, my agent phoned me up, he says, nothing back off Jez yet, but Leeds United want you. I might go, no, I'm not going. I said, what's that? Wolves? I still what? I said, offered me a 1 year contract, or they hadn't offered me, I was looking for a 2 year contract, and so on. He says, well, my advice to you is, they'll fly you back, have your medical. So fly back on your holiday. So I had to clear that with the missus, first and foremost, to fly back. Have a medical at Thorpe Arch, where you know where Leeds is. It's Thorpe Arch, it's Weatherbyside, and it's miles away. Yeah. I always thought it was Ellen Road, and it wasn't. It's another 45 minutes past it. Fly back, have your medical. That'll come out in the public that you're not signing anything. You're agreed terms, but you're not signing anything. Hopefully that'll then kickstart Wolves going, what's going on? Then I flew back to America for another 7-8 days. Come back, nothing, no texting, nothing. So I spoke to my agent. I'm like, and you get panicky then, don't you? Going, what am I going to do? Because Leeds wanted to move on to somebody else. I said, what am I going to do? And he went, it's entirely up to you. I signed for Leeds on a 3 year contract on half the money I was on here. Yeah. And I left the door as long as I could open for Jez and the club to come back to me, and they never did. So, and that's a true story. That it hurt me to go. It did hurt me to go, because I thought we were not too far away the Premiership of going up again. And if you keep the squad again, you know yourself. When you get relegated, a good team, they can keep the squad again, add 1 or 2 players, but not dismantle 3 or 4 that you've got to replace who don't know. And that, going to Leeds, but hey, it's another chapter. I went to Leeds and...
Yeah, well, it's another part of your journey, and we will talk a little bit more about Paul Butler and his time at Wolves on our extended podcast, which is available to download from all the usual places. Make sure you check that out, as well as checking out our backer this season. The Old Gold Club is powered by Blythe Group. Thanks for watching.